my. What a peculiar place to have a party.
A toast to episode 3. Oh, we got
Rabbit Hole.
The Rabbit Hole. We got our chocolate milks here. Mm-hmm. This is Joker.
And this is Madfish right here with you.
So, sorry it's been such a long time since we've posted something. Actually, I guess we're not going to post it until... We're going to post them like in succession, so it doesn't matter.
No, so it doesn't really matter.
No one's paying too close of attention.
Not just yet.
Yeah.
Anyways, though, I got a little story to start us off with.
Yeah, your rabbit hole story.
Of following a rabbit hole. And so last night, my friend calls me and is like, dude, you just, you want to go out to the bars? And I'm not usually, I like going out, but...
It's a Wednesday night.
It's a Wednesday night, and...
One of my friends, if you ask him if he would hook up with a girl, his answer either yes, no, or maybe on a Wednesday. Or no, only on a Wednesday.
Only on a Wednesday, yes. So, not really the most famous night for going out. But I was like, you know what? Let's take this rabbit hole, see where it leads me. And we decided to just swing by a friend of mine's house first to pick him up and see if he wanted to come with us. Without giving him any notice or warning, we just show up at his house, and we walk in to him being below the influence. You know those above the influence commercials? Like, he was definitely below it. Like, he just smoked a whole bowl, and he was lying on his bed just looking at us with his laptop sitting there. And he was like, hey, man... You wanna come out with us? And 45 seconds later, after having gone through that contemplation and just conflict inside his head,
probably felt like 3 hours to him.
Yeah, he's like, no, not tonight. And so we were in a really good mood, and this just kind of like brought us down a little bit. And so after that, we go in the car, and the first song that comes out on the radio is a song, I don't remember what it's called, but it's talking about not letting others bring you down and to remain hyped up about what you're doing. Mm-hmm. So it was very appropriate. Do you ever get those just like moments where you think you of course your natural instinct is to attribute it to coincidence, but there's just like too many coincidences.
No, I think your natural influence or your natural tendency is to make believe like everything has a meaning. Like a song comes on, you're like, oh, this is the perfect song for what I'm feeling, and then it's kind of like a confirmation bias thing. I do that all the time.
But do you think it's that, or do you think it's actually coincidence? Do you think...
I think, you just don't notice how many songs come on that you don't connect to. Like, it's probably 95% of the songs that come on, you don't have some sort of epiphany about how your life is, and then you say that it happens all the time. It's like when, I remember after 9/11, I always found myself looking at the clock when it was 9/11. I thought it was the freakiest thing, but I think I was just looking at the clock a normal amount, and I just only noticed when 9/11 came up.
But then explain this. That same night, it was a night of crazy coincidences for me, because I decided to take this rabbit hole, and it was like one of the first nights where I kind of felt freedom from a bit of a friend that was tying me down a little bit. Let's
energy vampire.
An energy vampire. And that energy vampire sends me a text for like the first time in about a month.
Yeah.
And I was just like, all right, well, what's going on here? And then we go over to the bars, and another crazy coincidence that happens is I meet a girl from my semester at sea that I was just on, just completely randomly, and she's the only one that lives in Seattle.
But what does this have to do with energy vampires?
Nothing. But they're like kind of like all these random correlated events.
Okay. All right. Okay, I see what you're saying.
But they're not really correlated. But they're only like slightly connected to each other. Mm-hmm. But it's just all of these events that kind of leave me in this retarded night, so to call it. Yeah.
As they say.
Where I just make the weirdest meetings of people, and all of these little coincidences just come on like one after the other. And if I hadn't gone out to that bar, I would have never met this girl from semester at sea.
Yeah.
And if you think about it that way too, it's like, what are the odds that on a Wednesday night, this girl from my semester at T was the only girl in Seattle, and this is probably the one night I've gone out since I've been back, that she'd be in the same exact bar and recognizes me.
Okay, I see what you're saying, but at the same time, think of all the other nights that have led up to that, and nothing crazy like that has happened. And I think when crazy things happen out of the ordinary, everyone's like, oh, what are the odds? But what are the odds that something out of the ordinary doesn't happen in a large sample size of time? You know, like, there obviously, like, the more common things are going to happen, but it's also in the odds that the unlikely thing will happen. Regardless, like, where it comes from is unlikely, but that it will happen is likely. Do you see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. I do see what you're saying, but then there's always the other way of looking at it. It's like, so once that thing happens, you just treat it as a coincidence and ignore it, or do you go out of your way? For example, this girl, who I would probably never talk to again unless I met her. Now I was like, well, I saw her. Maybe we should hang out sometime. So should I treat it?
Is she cool? Should we bring her on the podcast?
Well, I don't know. I literally saw her face and she recognized me. She was like, "Hey, are you?" And I was like, "Yeah." Who are you? And she's like, "Oh, I've actually forgot her name." But she.
Oh, what a glorious coincidence of chance! That obviously had a huge impression on you.
But the even crazier coincidence is that the girl that I was kind of hooking up with throughout that whole voyage happened to be her best, like, a really good friend of hers.
Okay.
So that's how she knew me, but I didn't really know her.
I think if it is a crazy situation, I think the fact that you went out puts yourself in a higher probability for those things to happen.
Mm-hmm.
You went, regardless of what the rabbit hole is, if you go down it, then crazy things are bound to happen.
Exactly.
That are out of the ordinary, and that will stick in your mind. And then it makes it... I was talking about this today with someone, that when you do stuff like that, and we were talking about this the other night, is that when you go away for a long time, and you come back to your normal routine, it's really hard to do the same things again.
It is.
You're like you feel like a totally different person, and then like you can't get that. We talked about this. It must have been even worse for you because you were gone for 6 months. I was only gone for a month on a Euro trip, and when I came back, right when the wheels touched down, I was just like, "Fuck, I'm back home."
Well, interrupting you, it's hard and it's easy. It's like easy to fall back into that same routine because it's like it's what your body's naturally accustomed to do. But then when you're in it, you're miserable. You just kind of sit in it and you wallow in your own misery for a little while until you find little ways of actually seeing that you've changed and kind of interpreting things that way.
Like going out on a Wednesday.
Like going out randomly on a Wednesday for no reason.
Do you like... So I go to a school that has a lot of bars.
Yeah.
Where most of the kids, they'll go out to a frat party or something, and then they'll all think they're really cool and go out to a bar. Mm-hmm. Like, we're going to be... And then there's like one bar that everyone can pretty much get into, even a lot of times if you don't have a fake. And then there's one bar that it's really hard to get into.
Yeah.
And everyone's always really cool if they go to the bar that's kind of hard to get into.
Oh.
Yeah, but it's all... I've never been in either one of them.
So you're asking me what?
I'm asking you if they're really that cool. Because I hear they're really cool, but I'm determined to wait till I turn 21 to go into them.
Well, I've recently only just turned 21, and this has really been my first bout with American bars, and it's cool in the sense that you finally have no restrictions on like what you can do. Mm-hmm. It's like you don't have to constantly worry about someone being, "Hey, you, I'm gonna breathalyze you. Watch out!" And you can buy things and. It's a whole different level of like meet different people, but in the end, it's kind of the same as you've been doing it. You're in a really loud place where it's hard to hold a decent conversation with anybody.
I hate that.
And you really like mostly end up talking to the people you came with. Like, there's not many people that just go to bars alone and look to meet random other people unless you're going to a bar specifically for that.
Some people are good at meeting random other people. I suck at it. Are you good at it?
Okay, well, I used to be dead awful at it when I was in like some settings of two groups coming together. Like whenever I'd go hang out with a bunch of people. Like, it's hard to, like, narrow down on one. I almost get overwhelmed by there being so many people, so I just kind of stand there in awe and lose myself and never really end up meeting people. But after kind of going around places and living, like, in developing countries and having to just do shit on my own 100% and being forced to interact with others, having no reliance on technology, I find myself that it's easier for me to now talk to people and meet them. And it really just takes going out of your way and showing a bit of confidence, and just don't even worry about the results. If someone gives you the cold shoulder, then let them give you the cold shoulder.
I think that's a big thing. But I don't know. Whenever I go to parties and there are people I don't know, I find it so hard to strike up a conversation with someone or hold a conversation, because either I get bored or I bore them, because I'm kind of like out of it, so I don't say anything interesting, kind of just shut down. And then, I don't know, it's also just a lot of times it's not even, you just have a stupid conversation.
Well, that's because you can only hear that little thing. Like, in places where you meet people today, there's usually a very loud setting where it's hard to hold a conversation with someone.
Yeah.
So, even if you get to an interesting topic, odds are you won't be able to hear what the other person is saying if it's beyond a certain level of intricacy.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just... I can't even get to that level of intricacy, though. I heard that a good rule for someone, I forget who told me this, for, like, nervous people who can't talk to other people or find it hard, is that you have a 3-second rule. If you see someone you're interested in talking to, you have 3 seconds to go talk to them, and if you don't do it, you just don't do it. Like, you don't dwell on it afterwards, but you also, it just forces yourself to go.
Oh, yeah.
And just say something.
A lot of it is just going, and sort of, because I think
that's a rabbit hole in itself.
Yeah, it is. Like, every time you do that, that's what's kind of motivated me to start just talking to random people, is making sly little comments about nothing. And a lot of the time, I challenge myself to just skip over small talk.
Do you ever, that's hard, but I'm gonna ask you a question, tell a story, and then you can see if there's a story that you relate to. You ever people that you wanted to talk to, but you were kind of too nervous to talk to?
I had one last night, yes.
Okay, so I was on a plane once, and whenever someone has a screen next to me, I can't help but look. And this lady, she was like 30 or 40, and she was writing a love letter to her ex-boyfriend, I guess you could call it, on her iPad, and I couldn't help it. I felt so bad, but I just couldn't help but look. And she was crying while she was writing it. And
so you're that ass that's just kind of like, she's bawling, and you're just like looking over her shoulder.
No, because I was really emotionally invested in what she was writing. She said something like, every time I close my eyes, I see your face. And what else did she say? She was really, because I think he broke up with her in a really harsh way.
Yeah.
And yeah, when she was writing that, whenever I close my eyes, I see her face, she was crying. But like on an airplane, things are so loud that no one really notices. Like everyone's in their own world.
Yeah.
On an airplane, I have a friend who he's just the nicest guy, and he flies a lot. And he says one time he was going on a plane. I think he does this all the time. He tries to make as many meaningful relationships as possible while he's on a plane. It's just pretty interesting.
Yeah.
I've never tried it, but because sometimes you can get someone who just fucking talks your ear off.
Yeah,
it's so fucking annoying. But anyway, so I wasn't just like curious about. I was curious about what's happening, but I really did feel for her. And I didn't know what to say. Like, what do you say? Hey, ma'am, I'm reading your love.
Behind your shoulder.
Yeah. So I started writing her a letter next to her. I started writing one down. And,
did you give it to her?
Let me finish my story. Because I had this really nice thought in my mind that I'd write her this really nice letter, and then she wouldn't feel so bad about what happened to her.
That's sweet.
It was sweet, but I didn't give her the letter because I was too afraid. I wrote this whole letter down. And, yeah, I never talked to her. And then I tried, she was on Facebook or something. I tried to look her up on Facebook afterwards, back in the day when I had Facebook, to see, like, what had happened. but I couldn't find her because she had a really generic name. I forget what it was. But it was one of those things, like, what do you... I don't even know what you say to someone like that. She was so...
There's a lot of fish in the sea.
She was so distraught. Yeah, I don't know. She was so distraught. I felt really bad.
I'm sure you just got to give him a hug.
Yeah.
Say nothing.
But then at the same time, is that I've had situations where I've broken it off with a girl, and then she wrote me, like, really long letter, and it was a ridiculous letter. So I didn't know if it was one of those situations where someone just, like, writes you this really crazy letter because it's kind of like a part of the drama or something. It's not as bad. I didn't know what he did, so I really didn't know. But she was pretty upset. So, but yeah, what was your story?
Well, we watched the movie Swingers a few nights ago. Remember?
Swingers, yeah.
Remember that part where the guy, kind of they're at that bar scene or that party, and
wait, hold on for the viewers, the listeners. Swingers is one of Vince Vaughn's early movies, and Jon Favreau. And I think this is the movie. I looked it up. It got them famous.
Yeah,
but Vince Vaughn is skinny.
Very skinny.
He talks slower, but he's still like the same cat.
Mm-hmm.
But it's pretty good. It's more of like a bunch of little anecdotes. Not anecdotes, but it doesn't really have like a plot or anything. It's just a bunch of little stories about a guy getting over a girl.
Exactly.
And Vince Vaughn's trying to help him out. But yeah, keep going.
Yeah, so Vince Vaughn at one point in the movie keeps asking his friend if this girl on the other side of the bar is looking at him. Remember that part? So last night, I see this really attractive girl on the other side of the room, and I play that same movie. I keep asking my friend, like, I can try this out. I was like, is she looking at me? Is she looking at me? And then my friend's like, I was kind of playing it as a joke at first, and he's like, oh, dude, she, like, keeps looking up at you. She keeps looking up at you. And I'm just like, up here. And it was true. She, like, kept on, like, eyeing me a little, and I'm like, oh, shit. Like, what do I do?
Yeah.
And then I did nothing, because I just... I didn't want to go over to the other side of the bar, and I kind of felt like a little bit of a fruitcake.
You felt like a fruitcake by standing there, or by going over there?
By not going over there.
Okay, yeah, good. Yeah. I thought you were going to say you would feel like a fruitcake if you did go over there.
No, and I decided to just hold a conversation, because that's kind of...
easier?
I was talking to another girl, which wasn't as enticing over next to me, but we had already like started a conversation.
Yeah.
And so I just decided to play it safe and not follow a rabbit hole. But now I wish I did follow that rabbit hole. It's like, what does it take to just get up and go to the other side of the room and talk to someone only having you exchange that slight eye contact? Should I go over and be like, hey, so I saw you looking at me over there?
There's a Louis C.K. bit. I always reference Louis C.K., and this is going to happen a lot for the listeners, but there's a Louis C.K. bit where he says, if you see an attractive girl at a bar and you go up to her, the only honest thing you can say to her at that point is that you want to fuck her face. He says, because you don't know her, like, that's the only honest thing you could say. Anything that comes out of your mouth is going to be total shit. It's going to be a total lie. And he's like, that is the only honest thing you can say, because you have no idea what she's like. You just find her attractive.
That is probably a little less vulgar of a way of saying that than I want to fuck your face. But
yeah, but obviously you don't say that. You got to say. But I think the point is that you probably just have to say something to anyone that you're interested in talking to.
I mean, like, I found you really attractive by looking at you from the other side of the bar.
You can say that.
Have a good night.
No, you can't walk away at that point. But I think once you just get into it, you'd be less... I'm trying to think of a situation where I went up and just talked to someone that I didn't really know.
There's definitely people that are...
I'm pretty bad at
more like are way better at that.
Yeah,
and that's what you'd refer to as game, maybe. What's your go game? But
it depends on if it's with girls or with anyone.
Because I know some guys that are money, so they use
your money, baby.
Your money at doing that, but then they can't really go to any deeper levels. The girl once they actually start holding a one-on-one conversation, a lot of girls lose interest.
Yeah. Do you know any? I know a lot of guys that it's kind of like Jon Favreau in the movie. They're money, but they are terrible at talking to girls.
Oh, yeah. It's
just like they can't get any girls, but like all the dudes like think they're not that they're super cool, but they're just like they're cool dudes. They're like plenty good enough for any girl, but they just don't. They're not very good at talking to them.
Some guys just freeze when they get to girls for some reason, and once again, I think connecting this rabbit hole is because you set yourself an expectation for what that girl's going to be, what that girl's going to say, what you want to do with that girl. And so that kind of leads you to be a little anxious about it.
Or fear of failure.
Fear of failure. Whereas if you go in it just completely open-minded, be like, hey, you know, I could walk out with her as a friend or just someone I meet once and never talk to again. If you're just open with that, then it's a lot easier. And even going up to them, it's a lot smoother.
I think a trick I use when there's something I want to say, but I'm kind of afraid to say it, but I know it's the right thing to say, or I know it's the right thing to do, like putting myself out there in a sense, is regardless of like who I'm talking to, is I'll either type out if it's in a text message, I'll type out what I want to say, or if it's like I was gonna work at this golf course, and I knew the hour. I was like, I'm just set on working here, so I went in and they're like, the hours are 5 a.m. to 1 p.m. And I might have already told the story, but I was just like, all right, cool, I'm in. I just said it because I wanted it to be a challenge, but I knew that if I thought it over, I might be like, you know, I don't want to ruin my summer doing all this, and like I could have come up with all these millions of reasons. But I just was like, no, I'm just gonna do it and fucking try it out. And so a lot of times I'll just like type things in. No, I'm good. I told my friend to do this too. He was like, he was afraid to text this girl because he wasn't sure if she wanted to hook up again or something. I said, dude, just type out the message that you want to send, and then it'll be there, and all you have to do is click a button, and then once you click a button, you can't do anything else about it. I do it on tests too. Like, I'll write out an essay, or I'll write out a paper, and I could think about it for longer, but sometimes this leads me to turn in shitty stuff. But most of the time, I'm just like, look, I just press send, and then it's in, and then I don't think about it anymore.
Exactly.
And you just kind of...
You've moved on from that aspect.
Yeah, and the more you do it, the more you fake it, which sounds weird, the more you fake it, but carry it out in the real world, the more that it becomes a natural thing to you.
Well, what you're talking about here is kind of like just trusting your first instinct of things. Just that, sometimes you just get that little vibe at first, and it feels right, but then you start questioning it, and you're like, oh, is it really right? Then I want to do this, and then maybe you do that, and then it's not really going to work out. But it felt right. And usually when something feels right, like at your first instinct, it has a really good chance of turning out good.
Yeah.
And a lot of times...
Do you have any examples?
Well, a lot of times, off the top of my head, with test answers, when you do multiple choice, a lot of the time, the ones that I erased and changed, I always get those wrong. Just with very, very few exceptions. And my friends and I have been talking about it, and my friend too. It's like every time we see an erase and change it, almost always we get that one wrong. Whereas if we guess it first time, whenever I just trust my first instinct, it's usually right on those multiple choice test questions. Do you find the same thing with you?
Yeah, no, I don't know. I find multiple choice pretty easy. I don't know why. I find that's like, if there's a test, I'd much rather it be multiple choice because usually two of the answers are bullshit, and then you really can just feel it out and like deduce what the right answer is instead of knowing the facts and having to fill it in. I think it's easier. Okay, tangent. No, tangent. We're just going to take a side route. The educational system. Right now, I don't know much about, like the way, I can only really speak to the way I was educated, and I was educated in a private school, but you were educated in a public school. Yeah. But one of the best public schools in the country too. And, I don't know, what do you think right now? What do you think about online education?
Online education?
Yeah, online courses.
Well, I think that online courses just kind of...
Have you ever taken one?
I've never taken one full one. I've taken like little snippets of stuff online. Yeah. Like there'd be part of my course that I do normally that has to be online.
Yeah. I've had courses where you have to put blog posts up.
And I find it, in some ways, it's a lot easier to learn some material, but I feel like it's dumbed down. I feel like you're learning out of something that's written, and there's no real creativity in learning from it. It's like when you go to a professor, if it's a good professor, in my opinion, he is not going to teach out of a textbook.
Well, let's go to... Let's start with the baseline. Okay, the pros and the pros right now of online learning and why it's spreading so much. Okay, one, you can reach far more people.
Yes, you get a much wider audience.
2, you don't really need a professor.
Yeah, so it's cheaper on like institution. It's you don't have to pay someone full time to do it.
Yeah, and not only can you reach more people, but you can reach people in lesser developed parts of the world.
Exactly.
And I don't know if that's how much that's being instituted.
Well, the thing is, there's a limit to how little developed the parts you can access it are, because you need a computer and internet access to have online education. Yeah. So it could get to the point where it becomes really helpful in those areas too. But
yeah, okay. Here's a story, because I was talking to one of my teachers about this, and he just got a grant to put scriptures, Buddhist texts online.
Yeah,
and he had to go to a bunch of monasteries to get the scriptures.
Mm-hmm.
And while he's there, he would meet all the different people from the place, and he would see the architecture of it, and he got a lot different feel from it than if he was just reading it. And he said he met this little lady who had been running the monastery since its inception, since its creation. And he said she was like the nicest person, so that's one thing. And 2, she knew more about it than any of the abbots could have told him. And she explained all the dynamics of the whole place. And he was saying, now that I'm putting all these things online, or that I will, more students will see the scriptures. But none of the students will actually go to the monastery and meet the lady and do the kind of experience of actually being there.
Exactly. So it's a bit two-sided, because you're making material easier, but then you're making it more tempting for students to limit themselves to that.
Yeah.
But are you doing that? Because the student that wants to go out of their way and is actually really interested in this stuff will eventually go out of his way to do it.
Yeah, and it's also having the means to do it too. But another kind of, you can think of learning in 2 different ways. And this is what we talked about in this class, is that, there are obviously more ways, but this is just one dichotomy, I guess. So you can have learning where you go in the classroom, and learning where you're sitting in chairs all day and you're talking and you're discussing everything that you learned. Or you can have, you can go to a school, and they're going to give you 150 books to read, and you're going to read all those books, and you have to write a paper on each book, and by the end of the year, all that has to be done. And that's it. And then you get a grade, and then you go. So, like, which one are you going after? Because that's essentially what the online learning one is.
Yeah.
That's giving you a bunch of information and some assignments and no discussion. You can go blogging, but there's something, I think there's something pretty critical in testing your ideas in person.
Well, yeah, here's where the online education is limited. I feel like it might be even advantageous from a standpoint of a personal learning experience, but I strongly believe that a huge part of learning is learning from others. It's like the reasons why the schools like Harvard, Stanford, and other famous schools are supposed to be better for you, it's not necessarily because they have that much better resources, that much better faculty. They got great resources, great faculty, but if you compare like a top faculty from UW and a top faculty from Stanford, like the difference is not going to be humongous. But where it makes a difference is the students that are there. Like the students themselves is what make it like a great learning atmosphere. It's like the sharing of ideas between a bunch of people is kind of what humanity is. It, like what gives rise to even better ideas. It's like social learning is huge, because I tend to learn a lot more from like the questions certain students ask in my classes than from other aspects of them. It's and with online learning, you're just completely killing that aspect of it. Like you have no interaction between students.
Yeah. Our teacher had us do something funny where he had us conduct a conversation where we all weren't looking at each other. We were all sitting on the desk facing away from each other, and it's a lot different. You realize how much you talk, like it's like you're talking to yourself, and so you don't censor yourself as much. You wouldn't think that you would, but I think it's kind of an unconscious thing when you're getting watched, when people are watching you. It's amazing how much the perception that you're being watched changes your behavior.
Well, let's go on a little tangent here.
Yeah, can I one thing? It's kind of like a panopticon. Did we talk about this? I don't know if we talked about this yet. It's like a panopticon, which is a prison. A prison where you have it's a circular prison, and the inmates are in the outer circle, and there's no wall that faces the inside, and there's just a guard tower in the middle, and the guard tower on the top has one-way windows, so you can't see if a guard's in there, so you don't. But just the fact that there could be someone watches you changes your behavior, and I think more and more we're like as society is. Our society is like that. Think of like Facebook is like a giant panopticon.
Yeah, it's what I was saying though. But people don't. Right now, a lot of them people kind of don't make the connection. They you know why a lot more stuff is said on Facebook, a lot of crazy shit, and people are starting to get in trouble. It's because they don't really connect that what they post can be seen by every single fucking person in the world.
Yeah, but at the same time, they do.
But now they're becoming more aware of it.
I don't know.
That's a tricky one.
Yeah, because I feel like it's like a second world that you're in where you create your new self, and like there are some people that are really active on Facebook, but they're different in real life.
Yeah, it's like one person on Facebook is like
I'm not in it anymore,
you're not in it anymore. But
that's what I noted when I was involved in it.
What we should ask someone is. Take like a post they did on Facebook and say, like, ask them if they would repeat that standing up in a room full of people, like.
Well, yeah, I think
in their like school assembly room with all their friends.
It's so easy to say something, and I think what power that tool gives you and Twitter is the ability to say anything at any moment, and you're like, oh, this is extremely cool, but like really you might want to think about what you're going to say, if it's really that important, and then you can focus down on the more important. This is why I like writing handwritten letters, because you only have so much space and you really get down to the important things that are a little bit deeper than, and you have to think more about expressing yourself. Like, I don't know. I never was one for posting statuses, or tweeting.
Yeah.
But I don't know how much thought goes into each one.
Well, I think it just depends on the person. But the thing that...
It doesn't seem like much from the surface.
No, it doesn't. The thing certain people have trouble focusing on is now Facebook. People have 1,000 friends usually, something like that, like 1,000, 2,000.
Has it grown that much?
Well,
people have thousands of friends.
Yeah, like you're limited. You're limited like 3,000 or 4,000 friends.
You're limited.
Yeah, which is a good thing, but still. A lot of the stuff you would say in real life, you would say to some people that you wouldn't really say to others. Like, you kind of pick and choose who you say certain things with. And I think what is happening...
What are you talking about?
Like, for example, say you're getting super pissed off at Japanese whaling boats for killing whales. You might say that to a bunch of your friends, but then if you have, like, a Japanese friend who... is reliant on that culture. You might be a little more sensitive in the way you say it, right?
Sure.
This might not be the best example, but on Facebook, you're just gonna be like, you're just gonna post that thing on Japanese whaling boats fucking up the world, and you aren't really gonna spend time sweetening it up for your Japanese friends. Do you see what I'm saying? It's like you post one thing, your brain can't take into account that all of your friends are going to see it at one time. You're going to forget about that.
Yeah. I don't know. Okay, so getting back into that, people aren't going to see things. You don't anticipate it. Let's think about photos.
Yeah.
And about photos that you pick and choose to put on. And I think I've already told you about this example. But I was going to a dance thing. with my girlfriend.
Dance thing.
Yeah, with my girlfriend, and we were taking pictures, and I'm really averse to pictures. I think, like, I don't know, photography is really cool, but a lot of pictures, I think I have an idea that would be cool if every time you take a picture, everyone wants to smile. Instead of smiling, you just, because you smile, just be like, then you can look at the picture later and go, oh, I was so happy during this time. But the chances are what's going through your head is a lot more complex than that. So you just somehow, because photos are by nature contrived.
Yeah.
But somehow have a natural expression on your face that express how you actually felt at that time.
There's a really simple way of doing that.
What?
Just, you don't know when the picture of you is being taken.
Well, that's just candid pictures.
Yeah.
I'm talking about getting in a picture with someone where everyone's smiling, and then later you can look back on all the pictures and go, oh, I was really depressed at this time, or I was. And then when you smile, this is the best part though. When you really smile, you go, I was actually fucking happy.
That's a good point. So basically, every time now you get someone takes a picture, you're gonna be like, hold your expression instead of a smile. So
yeah, no, I think pictures are. Okay, I'm just gonna get to the story. So anyway, we're gonna just take a picture, and I'm just like, okay, whatever. So I'm not gonna. I don't like the posing stuff. I just.
Yeah, we got that.
Okay, so sorry. And I don't do that thing, by the way. I usually just smile, but I just like the idea of it.
So you don't hold your whatever expression you have at that moment?
No, I'm always, yeah, okay. But regardless, so my girlfriend just starts a prom photo or something, and she starts hugging me from the side.
Uh-huh.
And it was almost like, I was like, whoa, what the fuck? I was like, what are you doing? I was so confused because she totally changed from what she was doing to like a pose, and she stuck her arm out. You know, like how girls usually stick their arm out.
Yeah, to make themselves look thinner.
Okay, yeah. Because I already told you the story, so don't ruin it for people listening. For the guys who had no idea that girls actually do this, because I didn't have any idea. Because I asked her, I was like, why do you do that? And she goes, I might have had to get it out of her. But she goes, it makes your arm look skinnier. It makes skinnier. My voice cracked. It makes your arm look skinnier if you put your hand on your hip. And I was thinking, like, you know, back in the day is not that long ago, 10, 11 years ago, when you took
so in
pictures.
the early 2000s.
Yeah, before Facebook and before all those things.
Yeah.
Really before Facebook, and maybe a little bit MySpace.
Yeah.
MySpace was the early...
social network.
Yeah, but what do they call it? They say, I remember I learned in a class that you don't be the first one into a new industry,
Yeah.
be the second one. So you can...
Well done, Facebook.
Yeah, so that's what Facebook did. I think there were other ones too, but they just did it better. But anyway, so I was thinking, you know, back in those times when you took a picture, it was really just something you stuffed away in your cabinet and put it in a little photo thing, if you did it all.
Yeah.
And it existed in a physical form only.
Yeah.
Right? You got them developed,
Uh-huh.
and then you brought them home, and you showed people sometimes after dinner, and no one really cared.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay? But now, when you take a picture, everyone's going to see it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why, like, that, I don't know if that actually existed before Facebook. So, see, I'm just saying that like, that's a change in behavior, something consciously taking it into people's minds before something is taken because of their life on the internet. And here's another funny thing. This is just really random.
Keep it rolling.
Is that, and this, we can relate these two, but, so since I don't have Facebook, all my girlfriend's friends want to look at me on Facebook, and she told them, she's like, we can't find him. She's like, he doesn't have one. And they go, he doesn't have a Facebook? Does he even exist? It's not funny. It's like, I don't exist online, so I must not exist in real life.
That's quite the thing.
Like, let's go through that. I don't know what that says about.
Well, that's kind of just... It just shows how entrenched Facebook is in our society, or how entrenched our society is in Facebook.
I wonder what is the percentage of people that are on Facebook?
Our age?
Well, our age in the 20s, but also in general, because a lot of older people, let's say, like, let's cap 50 and below. 50 to freshman year in high school.
I mean, there's probably some legitimate statistics online, but let's say this. What we think.
What is their membership at? How many people?
Over 1 billion.
No, it's not.
Uh-huh.
It's not over 1 billion. 1/7 of the world's population is on Facebook.
I believe so.
Shut up! No, we're looking this up. Okay,
well, I'm gonna shoot with my guesses, and then you look it up. How about this?
Oh my god! I will pay you. I will do something crazy if there's a seventh of the world is on Facebook. Okay, go.
So I think that our age in the United States, over 90% of the people are on Facebook. And between...
No way.
What's the total membership?
1.06 billion
Yes.
monthly active. No fucking way.
So that's monthly active users.
Dude.
And that means, and by the way, that doesn't account for China because Facebook is illegal in China.
Facebook's illegal in China?
Yeah.
Why?
Because the Chinese government has got some bullshit against it.
I feel like that would,
They got their
American
own...
cultural imperialism would... No, I mean, it's not really... It's hard to say imperialism with the culture, because the culture isn't necessarily active, but if you had Facebook in a country like that, I feel like it would bleed in really fast, and I don't think they'd want that.
They got their own version of it.
They do?
Yeah.
What's it called?
I don't know. I don't want to be racist, so I'm gonna
okay.
abstain from saying any slurs.
Okay, just keep going.
But yeah.
But those could be... Are there bullshit ones? Like, how many bullshit ones are there? Because, you know, on MySpace, there were always, like, rogue profiles.
Yeah.
Right there? There weren't real people.
Yeah, no, there's not that many. Facebook does a really good job at making sure every person's a real person.
Shit, 1/7 of the world's population. I wonder, the thing is, how much, fuck, dude, that is so big. But how many people have access to computers, and what percentage of those are on Facebook? Access to internet every day.
Yeah, it's probably not much over 1 billion, is it?
I don't know. I don't know what it is. Dude, that is ridiculous.
Well, my grandpa has a Facebook now.
And that's no, okay, well, no, but he doesn't use it, does he?
Yeah.
Oh my god. Monthly active users.
So every
people
month.
use it at least once a month.
Exactly.
Dude, that is
So
insane.
you don't exist, apparently, based on facts, since you don't have a Facebook.
Shit, dude. Okay, sorry, keep going. I'm gonna wrap my head around this while you talk.
Yeah, but... So the amount of people that actually use this thing is staggering. And... So
fucking say, Jesus fucking Christ. Okay, keep going.
Another thing that speaking of photographs, that our generation is really going to be the first to have is a complete timeline of our life in photos. It's like, you look at pictures of how many pictures of your dad do you see as a kid, or like how many movies or stuff like that. They're extremely limited. Like, I have no idea.
Stupid shit your dad said.
Yeah, you don't know like what stupid shit but your kids are gonna have access to all of the stupid shit you did as a kid.
Yeah, and then you can't punish them because you did this shit.
Like this is an abstract topic, but what is
this
parenting?
is a problem?
What is parenting? What is parenting gonna be like in 20 years for us? When our children are going to have access to everything we've ever done in our life.
How ingrained do you think that's... Because now Facebook is becoming, what's it called? Integrated with so many different other platforms. How integrated? Do you think, how integrated can it be?
Well, you know how right now it's expected of you to have a cell phone to be in any sort of job position, basically?
Yeah.
It might become expected of you to have a Facebook for any job position. Like, it might be a necessary requirement at one point for you to be part of society.
No way.
Well, what if you'd asked someone that about cell phones 10 years ago? What do you think they would have told you?
I don't know, but cell phones can do what Facebook does. You can just have like a program on yourself. What does Facebook offer that cell phones don't? That would be necessary to business.
Just a social interaction, like a place where
you can text, you can email.
But it makes it more personal. It does. Facebook does make stuff a little more personal than texting and emailing.
No, it just makes things more public. It's still just typing, and I heard they have video chat now, but you can do video chat on your phone too.
But I think that
I'm not getting it. Fuck it.
I might delete mine again.
Dude, you should. You can only... Some people only... my brother said he deactivated it, and then... What did he do? He went on a website that required a Facebook login, and when he logged in, it activated his Facebook again without him actually doing it or something. And then... that's the other thing. Facebook, while we say that everyone uses it, it sells your information to advertisers.
It does.
Isn't that... Dude, that's fucked up, I think.
It's extremely fucked up. Like,
I just don't know why we allow it. But you sign up for it. They have all your pictures. They have everything. They have ownership to all that, don't they? Or did they change some of that?
I haven't looked through the privacy settings.
I think they changed some of it.
I've got stuff basically as most private as I can.
But regardless, I know I was talking to someone who's really into all the social media stuff into computers and stuff.
Yeah.
And someone said that Facebook will eventually fall. And he said there's no fucking way because Facebook has the most information into consumer preferences than anyone ever before, and that they'll never lose a grip on that. And that's why they're valued at so much. And people say, all right, I was having a conversation with someone. They say, so what? They have all this information. But that's just because advertising, see if you agree with me on this, and this is going to sound extreme.
Shoot.
Advertising is mind control.
In a way, yeah.
If it wasn't mind control, they wouldn't do it. Okay? And what did we talk to? We talked about this another time. Is that
it's scientific? Some advertising is scientifically designed to appeal to certain parts of your brain.
And I'm talking about images. I'm talking about images and videos. That's mind control because when you watch that stuff, your brain is in a different state, a state open to suggestibility, to suggestions. Okay, so it's mind control, and then you're giving people your information so that they can better know your mind and better control it. You can't get around that. And so that's why, dude, it just and it doesn't happen the reason why it's so fucked up is that it doesn't happen on a conscious level. It happens at an unconscious level.
Well, I think this is gonna make human beings evolve almost. It's like it's gonna make our brains
into a
evolve.
Single consciousness.
It's getting. I mean, that's a bit of an extreme thing, but I think the way our brains are wired is going to change because the way
Evolution takes forever, dude.
But this is not necessarily evolution. This is the stages of development because when you're young, your brain still hasn't fully developed, and so based on like the different input you receive, it changes the way it's wired.
From a very knowledgeable source, they said that your brain is almost fully decided by the time you're 5. And how it's structured, 99%, or something, and maybe even lower than that. I think it's 5 years old. 5 years old. You're not on Facebook when you're 5.
Do you think that's gonna last forever?
No, you're not on Facebook when you're 5. You can't produce your own thoughts until I don't know how old you are.
If a 3-year-old can play Angry Birds now,
can a 3-year-old play Angry Birds?
Yes.
Yeah, but they can't formulate thoughts. Okay.
A 1-year-old can play Angry Birds.
My friend actually said that the other day he had. Or not the other day, when he said around the time he was 18, he said he had his first thought ever. And he says his first idea that he came up with and felt, I don't know, what did he say? It was like his first deeper reflection on what things are going on. He said that when he was 18, he started crying when it happened. Do you have anything like that?
Yeah, I was 3 years old.
When you no, okay.
I remember.
All right, just say what you were.
It was an insight on dinosaurs. I was wondering. I woke my parents up in the middle of the night, asking them whether the compsognathus was the smallest dinosaur in the world. I was a really big nerd back in the day, and I kept on reading.
The what? The
compsognathus.
What is that? Is that in Jurassic Park?
Yes, it's a really small dinosaur. It's the smallest dinosaur ever found.
Okay.
And so my first my first contemplation was like, how can they know whether that's the smallest dinosaur that was ever found? I mean, it's like it said it was the smallest dinosaur in the world, and like how can they know?
How small is it?
It's like a foot tall. It's very small.
Okay. What does it do specially?
It's a predator and a pack predator. So
how can it? What is it?
It's like a lizard, basically.
Oh, cool.
That walks on 2 feet.
What is it called?
You know the little guys in Jurassic Park.
There aren't little guys.
Yes, there are. And Jurassic Park 2.
I don't remember Jurassic Park 2. I think that was shittier than 1. Wasn't it?
1 is epic.
1 is great.
2 I kind of like, but it's not as good as...
Jeff Goldblum kills it.
Okay, yeah, Jeff Goldblum's great. But then I thought...
Jeff Goldblum movie, Igby Goes Down. Everybody watch Igby Goes Down.
Also Independence Day.
If you like Catcher in the Rye, this is a modern-day Catcher in the Rye with Macaulay Culkin's brother. Okay, go.
Mm-hmm. And so I thought, how can they say it's the smallest dinosaur in the world if we haven't yet discovered everything in the world? It's like... it's still possible we find a smaller one. And that's the first complex thought I remember having.
Okay, I want to hear this.
Questioning scientists at the age of 3.
This is crazy shit. Some crazy shit. This is from a book called Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. I think you'd like this book, Madfish. But one of the things he says is that it's a story of... It's a guy who's telling about his own motorcycle travels and how it relates to philosophy, but also he's telling the story about a guy who was a professor who went a little crazy.
Yeah.
And I think he's talking about himself. But anyway, regardless, this guy was pondering the scientific theory, and he posited that there's the scientific method, which is hypothesis. What is it? You should know this. Hypothesis. Then you ask a question, then you form a hypothesis.
No, there's this question, there's hypothesis.
Then testing.
Then you test it.
Then you get the results.
And then you get the results, and then discussion.
Okay, right. So this guy was pondering the theory.
Yeah.
And when he was trying to solve various different problems, he realized that there were an infinite number of hypotheses for any question. Okay. Mm-hmm. So he said, as science advances and you can test more and more hypotheses, and he thought about, and Einstein said in a Nobel Prize speech or some sort of speech, Einstein said that the scientific truth is only a truth for now, because they're always, and this guy was saying, wait, what the fuck? So basically, you can test if you have infinite number of hypotheses.
Yeah.
Then. And you test more and more and more, then the truth will only last for a certain. The truth is whatever the scientific truth is has a lifespan.
Yeah.
But the more advanced your technology gets, the less that lifespan becomes. So you get to the point where scientific methods are so powerful that the truth is no longer is changing so fast it's meaningless. So he said that while you use the scientific method to get the answer, what you're really going, and one answer is what you're really going to is chaos. Isn't that crazy?
That's crazy, but that's a philosopher's thinking, because what he doesn't take into account is if with the scientific method we've discovered the big things and now all that needs to be refined are the little things.
No, but even the big things would have various different theories. Would have infinite number of theories.
Of how they were created?
Yeah, so like something even like gravity eventually will be overthrown.
Because there's got to be something that explains gravity.
No, because there are an infinite number of hypotheses that can come after it. And you'll always be testing it over and over and over again. So like an infinite number of answers.
Well, that doesn't make sense under every possible... It's a theoretical. In theory, that could work, but in practice...
In practice, but the point is just not... I mean, I think it's what Einstein is getting at, is that the truth... If you get too attached to it, it's only the truth for that moment.
Well, that's the way.
Discovery.
The way I thought about it is, if some scientist using the scientific method proves that there's a God who can fucking turn off gravity with the flip of his fingers, he just hasn't done so yet in our lifetime, then that kind of redefines science.
Yeah.
Does it not?
I mean, I think the further... I don't know. We always... Here's another tangent, or a sidewinder. That's a level in the original Halo, isn't it? Sidewinder?
Also a missile. That's used by the F-18 Hornet.
Oh, Hornet's also something in Halo. Okay. What I love, love's not the right word. I'm always intrigued when people say, scientists have discovered, or scientists say, the scientists have done studies.
Yeah.
Who are they talking about? Who are the scientists, and what do you have to do to get to be called scientists?
Am I a scientist?
I don't know. But when you say scientists, it's like there's like one group of them doing all this shit. But really, it's a bunch of other people just like me and you. I mean,
who study a little more.
Yeah, I mean they're really fucking smart, obviously. But I'm just wondering who they are and what their motives are behind when they're...
Well, when you think scientist, you picture this guy that's got glasses and a bit of an overgrown stuffy beard and one of those checkered shirts that's working with test tubes the whole day.
A checkered... No, he has a white lab coat.
Or a white lab coat, whatever.
Yeah, and he's like dedicated to discovering all this new shit.
Uh-huh. And that's what his passion in life is.
But it's like a new form of religion almost.
It is, because, I mean, the time I really see this taking over is during the Darwinism debate. Like, Darwin, that was the real first time when science and church head-on clashed that I can think of in the recent times. And I think at that point, after that whole debate, when science and religion were put head-to-head, it's like they cannot really be mutually exist.
Science is not
is
an
when
end
science took the precedent.
Yeah, now it's the end-all, be-all of any arguments. It's like, well, science says.
Yeah, and I think that's disconnected a lot of us from spirituality, which I believe is very important.
Because science, there are certain things that still scientists can't really
explain,
study.
And they attribute to coincidence.
Well, yeah, not being able to explain things like the human brain, things like this is from astronomy, but dark energy, dark matter.
Yeah.
Okay, but also getting into things that are more controversial, like I know Johns Hopkins just did a study on shrooms, on mushrooms, and about how and 10 years later, one trip makes people happier.
Yeah.
But that's really like the first study, because you can't study that shit anymore. Because it's totally, there are certain things that you can't go after. There are results that you have to hold on to, I feel like. There'll always be like that.
I believe scientists have one big flaw, and is that they're extremely close-minded.
Okay, wait, dude, see, you just did it. You just referenced a whole bunch of scientists.
Yeah, exactly.
No idea who
No, I'm doing that on purpose. Scientists, as we refer to them as a thing today, which are people that use the scientific method to prove different things. So scientists are closed-minded.
Dude, you can't say that, because that's a bunch of people, and I don't know who you're talking about. And it's a bunch of people, and you're making a broad generalization about them. Because who are they, dude? Who are they?
But look at the time.
I guess I did that too. Did I do that?
Yeah, you just did that to me. You
No,
just did the scientist thing.
No. When I said that there are certain things that they can't go after. Fuck. Do I know what I'm talking about? I guess I could say that. No, I mean, I referenced a specific thing, and that is true.
Yes.
So, regardless, it's hard, dude. It's hard to stay away from this stuff. But, okay, keep going.
But scientists in general, whenever there's a new theory brought about,
like what? We gotta stick to specific examples.
We gotta stick to specific examples. Shit, I don't have one off the top of my head right now.
Okay, that's fine.
But for what I know is that when someone in the process makes a claim for something new, then it's just hammered by skeptics. It's like, no, that can't be true. Blah 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 blah. That's
yeah. I feel like it's just like a constant thing you see in history where someone comes up with a new idea
and it's hated.
And yeah. Oh fuck! Great quote. The line between genius and insanity is measured by success. Is success or something like that.
Yeah.
So really, all those people that became super famous are the people who broke the rules and who made everyone lose their hair over what they were doing, and then they became geniuses. Mm-hmm. And then they become the new standard, and then someone else comes and breaks all the rules.
Yeah, because when has there been a genius that hasn't pissed someone off? It's like when someone comes up with a genius idea, he's swarmed by bad things at first, by like competition, by hatred, by stuff. And I think this is part of
people reluctant to change.
People's like humanity's
some
reluctance
people profit
to change.
off things staying the same. And sometimes, just personally, I think about sometimes the way things that I say or things that I do rub certain people around me the wrong way. And sometimes I just think about it and I go, shit, I'm like a little upset about it, and then I think, fuck, if I wasn't doing that, then what the fuck am I doing? Like, if I'm not pissing people off, then I'm not doing anything, am I?
Exactly, because
then I have no edge. When I was little, dude, I had no edge. I have more of an edge now, but like,
I would completely agree with that. When I was little, I was terrified of pissing anyone off.
Yeah, and you just want to be like, yeah, dude.
But now I've stopped giving a fuck, you know? I invited 2 different people at my house tonight for a little get-together.
Yeah, you gotta go soon.
that stopped dating a little while ago, and neither of them knows that the other one is coming. And you know what? I don't give a fuck. It's gonna make a new rabbit hole out of the night.
Yeah, I guess so. Make things interesting.
Yeah, it's just like there's got to be a plan. When part of you just says, "I know,"
It's a gradual thing.
Yeah, it's like I don't give a fuck. Like you can't give a fuck about everything.
I think that I don't know what it's like to grow a lot older, but I think when you get to be a lot older, you just stop worrying about little shit.
Yeah,
it's like it's fucking stupid.
Yeah, it's just like life is too short, man.
The quicker you can get over the little shit, dude, the better things can fucking be. The little shit.
The little shit.
The little shit. All right, we're out of here. Should we finish this chocolate milk? We'll finish it after.
Yeah.
All right, folks.
We'll try to get a guest on you on this.
Yeah, we're sorry if you're tired of listening to us. I don't know. Sometimes tell the same stories, so maybe I told the same stories. Have I? I can't even tell.
No, I don't think we've gone over the same stories.
Because sometimes I tell stories to you, and then I tell them a lot to other people. I always reference the same things.
Yeah, but it's fine. That's why we gotta have a few guests on here, and next time we're gonna try to have a guest on here for you guys, and we'll see where that rabbit hole takes us.
I'm excited.
Yeah,
I'm excited to get a third person on here.
I'm very stoked.
They need to. We're probably full of shit, dude. Probably.
No, we're full of shit. I admit it. I'm full of shit, and so are you. But sometimes by hearing others that are full of shit, you actually somehow get something a little constructive.
Yeah, I think just weeding through the shit, even if it's a bunch of shit, it's the practice of weeding through all the shit and figuring out what you like and what you don't like and what you agree with. And I actually had a friend who listened to the podcast, to our first one.
Yeah.
I haven't told you this yet.
Oh, yeah.
He listened to it, and he said he had some criticisms, but he said, it actually made me think about a lot of things. That's
exactly what we want.
I just pumped my fist. I was like, fuck yeah, baby. So, we hope you guys fucking think about things after.
Yeah.
If not, we didn't do a good enough job, I guess.
Exactly.
But,
this is Mad Fish.
And Joker. See ya.
Goodbye.